Hey y'all, just an addendum that I'm taping but tagging on to the beginning of this video. I wanted to check with the YouTube channel before I gave a shout out to her channel. But if you have never looked at the Paper Outpost, she is absolutely incredible. The lady's name that does the videos, she's Pam, and she makes incredible creations. And that is where I learned how to make the upcoming seed packets in this video. So go out, give her channel some love, and tell her Kim from the Wellness Homesteader sent you. Thank you. Well, welcome to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. You may wonder, where am I and what is all this mess? So I've brought you into the super top secret space of my house that I don't like to let people see because it is generally kind of a wreck like this. And this is my craft room. So I do have a 4-bedroom house, and this poor craft room has been moved 3 times. So this is actually the warmest room in my house. It has 2 windows. It faces west. So in the winter, when I do have time to do my crafting, this is a good room to be in because it's nice and toasty. So you may not realize it. Today is actually October 16th. You won't be watching it until next week, but 10 weeks from today is Christmas. And I still have quite a few things that I'm working on creating as gifts. One of the things that I really enjoy gifting are seeds. And I will link at the end in an iCard my video on harvesting mammoth sunflowers. But that is one of the things that I do enjoy gifting, and I probably have I'll say my mammoth sunflowers stretched across several states because I've certainly shared with many people. I never know quite how to package them. And I hate to just give somebody like a Ziploc baggie and be like, ooh, Merry Christmas. So I had purchased at the dollar store these little paper sacks. But you know what? They're just kind of blah and boring. So I taught myself how to make a seed packet, and it's so very easy. I want to share it with you. So here's an example of one that I made. I love paper crafting, and I have been crafting since I think I was 7, 8 years old when my grandma started teaching me how to hand sew, embroider. She crocheted and she quilted. So I really credit my beloved grandmother for my interest in crafting. But I do enjoy paper crafting, and I have a load of supplies. Behind me, you can see my loom. I also like weaving table runners and scarves and various things, but that's not something that I have time for in the summer with canning and harvest and gardening and yard work and all of those things that keep us busy and occupied in the summer. So the back of this, as you see, looks just like a seed packet. And I just took some various little scraps, stapled them together, and I thought this just turned out adorable. You can make them any configuration you want. So this one here was made out of a old music book, and I'll talk in a moment about where you can find supplies and how you cannot spend a lot of money creating these cute little packets. So this one is made out of book pages, and I just did some stamping. This is a tag that I made so you can put what kind of seeds, but it's just a stamp. And then some free printable vintage images that I also printed. This one is kind of short and squatty, but I really like this because it's actually, and I'll turn it over here, you can see it says November 18th, 1952. These are pages out of a vintage ledger book, and I have a few of them, and I purchased these on eBay, and they're so cool. You know, it's got the old-fashioned looking writing and the really inexpensive pricing. So they range in age from 52 to 55. And I make a lot of what's called junk journals, and that's for another video. So having items like that, which many people are just like, take it, I don't want it, if you go to an estate sale or if you go to a garage sale and they're trying to get rid of paper. They don't charge a lot for it, so it's a very economical way to make some really cool things. So as I was making the seed packet, I thought, you know what, that is like the perfect configuration for making a packet to put a gift card in. So if you've ever purchased gift cards for someone, you know that most stores sell some kind of elaborate, cute little metal tin or some type of a box that you can put the gift card in, which just adds to the price. So I took a piece of scrapbook paper, a doily from the dollar store, a piece of ribbon, and I'll show you my junk bin on where I save these things, and then a free printable vintage image along with, I don't know if you can see, I used some what's called stickles. It's like a glitter glue. And then on the back, a vintage tag. So I thought this one turned out adorable. You could use it for a gift card. You could use it for a small gift. You could use it for seeds. And then just, you know, maybe record somewhere or on the inside of the flap, I did a little stamp what the actual seed is for. So let's talk about, where do you find supplies? So I just grabbed some various things that I have in my stash. So making what is called a junk journal, it's kind of like a scrapbook where you repurpose an old book. So thrift stores, Goodwill, people sometimes just don't have use for a book anymore. I will cut off the cover and then I just have a block of pages. And these are great to use for the little seed packets. You can also take, a stamp, and this just happened to be a Christmas stamp, and I colored it in, and you could use this for one of your images. Here's a little ballerina and a bunny rabbit with stars, so whatever stamps you happen to have. And then this one is, I don't know, I think it's supposed to be Halloween because she's got a little broom and sort of a witch's hat with a cobweb, but really cute idea to just use your book pages to stamp and color on, and then you have paper to make your seed packets. Another idea, I purchased at a thrift store or a Goodwill. I think this one came from a thrift store. This is a book of fairies, and they're winter fairies. So these make, here's a Christmas one. This you can fold up and make lovely little packets. You can use just plain scrapbook paper. And a thinner paper I have found, so you don't want to use cardstock, works really well. You could use pages out of a seed catalog. That would work well. I also have some old books from, gosh, I think this is from the 70s probably. This one is about vegetable gardening, and it happened to be black and white. So this would be a really neat use for some of the pages out of here, because I have so many gardening books, I don't particularly need this one, and I think I paid $1 for it. So you can go through your own book supply. You can ask friends and family, hey, do you have any old books that you would like to get rid of? I think I already said seed catalog. That would be really neat too, because you could go to, let's say sunflower seeds, you could go to the sunflower seed page and make your little packet out of there. So hang tight. I'm going to readjust the camera and then show you how simple it is to make a seed packet. Okay, well, hopefully this configuration will work well for you to see just how simple it is to make a seed packet. So I am going to kind of mimic the prototype Christmas one, since we are talking about Christmas gift giving. So I've selected some scrapbook paper. Again, you can use any sort of paper that you would want to. You do want a thinner paper. I have trimmed this to approximately, let me give you some measurements here, 8.5, and this was a 12 by 12 page. So we'll trim some of this off. So simple though. So what you want to do is you want to make a tube out of your paper. So just to talk a moment about glue, you can use permanent glue stick. So this is Scotch Create. It's my favorite glue stick, but almost any glue stick will work since this is not something that's going to be like a high usage manipulated item. I also like art glitter glue. Now I will share, this is a bit pricey and it's confusing because it says glitter and there's nothing glitter about it. So this is really neat though because it has a tiny little nozzle and it makes it easy to not use a whole lot of glue. So I find from that standpoint it lasts a very long time. And yeah, let me stick the pin back in. Okay, so we're going to aim to make a tube. And what I have down here to protect my work surface, I just have a U-line catalog. And when I get a page gluey, I just flip to the next page. So this saves my work surface tremendously. So you want to lap the right side over the left. So I'm going to apply my glue stick in a line down the, what will be the left side. And then you want to line up your edges so that your tube is straight. And as long as your bottom and top edges, waiting for that to grab, are lined up, your project will come out even. So, and I'm all sticky already. So once you kind of have it together, you want to, again, lining up your edges, just crease it down. Now it takes a minute for this glue stick to actually grab. And I like to use a bone folder, but let me tell you, you can use the handle to your scissors. You do not have to use a bone folder. And I've had kind of a funny question, so I'm going to just address it. I have had people actually ask me, are you right-handed or left-handed? Because you do things sometimes right-handed, sometimes left-handed. And the answer to that is I'm kind of both-handed, so a little bit on the ambidextrous side. I have the need to have a couple of the joints in my right thumb replaced, so it's a lot easier for me right now to use my left hand for everything. So, okay, so now we just have a tube. Very simple, right? Now I want to squeeze the tube and line up the two creases that we've made, but the creases can be kind of hard to see. So I am going to use, and this has been well loved, some Tim Holtz Distress Ink. You do not have to use this. If you have an ink pad, you can use that. You don't have to ink it at all. I like kind of that vintage worn look, so I think these Distress Inks work well. Some people actually use like old eyeshadow. They'll go to the dollar store even and purchase, cat hair, imagine that. And purchase just some neutral color palette of eyeshadows, and that will work as well. So as you can see, I'm just adding sort of a halo as if this seed packet or gift card packet has been well loved. So I'm just going to go along the sides. You can rub it, and if you're using eyeshadow, you can use Q-tips, you can use the eyeshadow applicator, whatever you'd like. Now for length, and I should have done this prior, what you want is about 1 inch at the top for the top flap and about 1/2 inch at the bottom. So I'm just gonna eyeball this because there is no requirement that it be perfect. So there we go. And you can use a paper cutter. You can use a guillotine cutter, which is what I have over here. And I sometimes use or you can just cut along the pattern, which is what I'm going to do to make a straight cut. Okay, so we've done that. Just ink up the bottom here a little bit. All right. So now you want to take your tube, put your creases together, and holding that tightly, we're going to cut just to the center line to make the top flap. And again, the measurements don't have to be exact. It can be whatever you think looks nice. So I am going to cut using the pattern to the middle. And I will tell you, it's very difficult to find left-handed scissors too. This is a right-handed world, so I have learned to do most things right-handed. So we have our nice, neat little cut. So while we have this pinched, I am going to take, oh goodness, here we go, a smaller pair of scissors. There we go. And these are really great if you have arthritis in your hands or hand trouble. And I'm going to try, I have several different devices that I use to help me with things that I have difficulty with. I'm going to try to share those as I go along. I believe this is Fisker's scissors, but they're springy, so they really save your hands. So what we're going to do is just cutting through both thicknesses at a time. We're going to make a curve so that we have the curve of the envelope top, just like you would on a seed packet. And I like the littler scissors. And if you want to be exact with this, you could lay something round, like a quarter, down so that it would be, you know, perfectly round. I'm not that concerned about it. So there you go. We have our rounded off envelope top. And to make the bottom, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to line up. This is where those inkings really come in handy, because it is important that you have everything lined up. So we're going to cut up about a 1/2 inch or whatever you would like for your bottom flap to be. And cut across. I'm just using the pattern to line it up. And I'm going to use the smaller scissors to get into the little corner here. And then while I have it pinched, I'm going to make that same curve here. There we go. So now we have a top flap and a bottom flap. How simple was that, right? Just took a few moments in time. And as I mentioned earlier, you could absolutely use, you could even use like junk mail and stamp on it. There's so many options. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money to do it. So back to our distress ink or eyeshadow. I want to actually distress this area of the flap so you can just protect your envelope with a piece of paper to color this. And again, this is a matter of taste, not a requirement. I'm going to ink up the top, and then we don't need to ink the inside because we are going to actually fold this up. We can go ahead and do that. We'll ink the bottom for consistency. I just think it really adds a lot. And the distress inks come in a bazillion colors. They last a very long time. So I use them in my junk journaling, and I really enjoy having them. And I think it's very relaxing to go around and distress ink something. Okay, so for the bottom flap, you could use your glue stick. I'm actually going to show you the art glitter glue, and you may notice it looks a little bit yellow when I first start. That's because my pin has rusted. But yeah, here we go. So we have our art glitter glue. So this will provide a little more strength than I think a glue stick would, because I plan to use this for some sunflower seeds. So it's going to be a little bit heavier. All right, now we're going to take our top flap, and I just fold it back. And I like to ink on this edge. And then we haven't done inking on the back where we've made our flaps. So let's do that. Again, totally optional. And sometimes you will get a little paper tag. So I'm just going to cut that off. There we go. All right, so now the fun begins. You can decorate this any way you want. So let me share with you, I save all of my scraps. So if I'm making a project and I don't use a sheet, or I've torn it out of a book and I don't use a sheet, or I have, this is actually a napkin that I decoupaged. I have all kinds of little pieces of fabric so you can make clusters. I have some ribbon, which is what I think I want to use. I might use the bright red, yeah. Also, I went to an estate sale, and these types of vintage lace are so expensive to buy them, even on eBay. They're just super pricey. I got enough lace to last me the rest of my natural lifetime for almost nothing. It was the last day of the sale. They hadn't sold nearly as much as what they wanted. So as you see, I have some beautiful vintage trims, and these would be really fun to add in. I even have pleated trims and colored trims. So raid your family's vintage button boxes, vintage sewing items, because it really can look cute in a junk journal or in making these seed cards. So I'm going to use, I just printed off, and let me share this book. We're going to be having some videos on this book. It's called Have Yourself a Very Vintage Christmas, and it is crafts, decorating tips, and recipes from the 20s to the 60s. Susan Wagner. And let me tell you what, this is such a gorgeous book, and it has so many cool printables. So even though I purchased the book, I can copy. And if you read, it will tell you, like, the Scotty dog was a very popular image from this year to this year. So it's just fascinating. It's a great coffee table book as well. So this is out of that book, or you can go online. Now, I thought I would not only ink this up, but I thought I would go ahead and round the edges. So you can do it with the scissors and eyeball it. Or I have this crocodile made by We Are Memory Keepers, and it just bites off the corners and rounds them evenly. Sort of. If you do it right, it will. But that way you don't have as many, like, hard edges. So I thought that improved the looks quite a bit. And it's pretty white against this more almond colored background. So if you want to knock down a very white background, what you can actually do with brown eyeshadow or distress ink is you can just really lightly go over the image. I don't want to get dark globs, but it will knock back that white significantly. And it's okay if it's not perfectly even, because after all, I'm trying to make this look vintage. All right, so we will use our glue stick and just adhere this image. And I'm going to put it on the front. You could do it on the back as well, however you prefer. And I'm going to use the design to help me line it up evenly. So yeah, very simple. And I still don't like that piece of ribbon, so I may, you know, pull out some lace to put on the bottom. Also from my book, I have one of these vintage to and from tags. So I'm going to just do the same process. I'm going to round off the corners. And again, not required. You can eyeball it. Don't have to round them. I just think it adds a little something. I'm going to ink it. And we're not too sticky yet. Let's glue stick this on. And I'm actually going to use this tag to cover the seam, which is not obnoxious anyway. But I'm going to put it vertical instead of horizontal. Yep, time to turn the page here. So now you could take stamps and you could stamp on the inside of the envelope. You could just lightly color it. And this obviously had a little wrinkle or something in it, so that's okay. Still looks fine, and you're going to gift it with this either tucked in or tucked out. So that's what it would look like tucked in. And then you can just go to town with your embellishments. So some of the things that you might want to use. This was actually from my mom's sewing. So see how pretty. Gosh, I wish you could see that. Maybe go up here and you can see it better. You could put some rickrack. And if you're going to glue fabric or heavier items, another glue that works really well is Fabri-Tac. So this glues fabric, lace, glass, leather, wooden trims. It grabs fast, it dries clear. So let's just put some, you could do it down the side if you want to make it a little bit different. And I think that's what I'm going to actually do. So let me just show you how that looks. And we'll put a little bit of Fabri-Tac on here. And a little goes a long way with this glue as well. I find that glue stick won't really hold things like fabric. So if you are going to use a heavier material, you may want to invest in a fabric glue. Walmart sells fabric glue. You certainly aren't required to purchase that brand. See how much that added to it. So you can just continue to decorate. Whoops. And you shouldn't touch it when it's wet like I just did. I'm so gluey that I need to just lay this down and walk away. So you may have to take a break in there. Another thing that you can do is you can put stickles. This is a glitter glue that you can dot on to highlight. So for example, let me just show you, like if I want to highlight maybe Santa's hat, you just put drops of the stickles. And this is called Diamond. So it's just a clear, sparkly glue. Once you start with the stickles, and sometimes these do get plugged up as well, and you have to use a pin. Don't make the mistake of cutting that tip, because if you do, it will come out in great big globs and it will be of no use to you. So you just want to, what happens is it's like a piece of glitter gets stuck in that little nozzle. So go around his cuff. I have a tendency to go crazy with it because it's super simple. And there's a couple different brands of the glitter glues. Liquid Pearls is another name. So I'll lift this up here in a minute. You want to hold your bottle vertically, touch it down, up, and if you do what I just did, and you get way too much, you have a few moments to reapply. And as you work with this, you'll learn how much pressure is like just the right amount of pressure to put on. So this is a fun extra little thing that you can do if you don't want to invest in the liquid pearls or the stickles. You can also just glue some glitter on. You know, dollar store has glitter as well. Let's go around his cuffs. And then I will hold it up for you. Hopefully not touching it, but yes, that added so much sparkle. I hope, can you see? Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed this really simple Christmas craft, and drop me a comment below. Is this something that you would like to try? Do you want to try to make seed packets? Are you going to make them floral themed like this one? Or do you prefer the Christmas theme? And are you going to use them as well for gift cards? So be healthy, be well, be blessed, and have a wonderful day.